All right, it's working. Give it just a second. All right. All right, so we are live, and we will just wait for everybody out there in Facebook land to realize. Hang on, why is this? Wait for everybody out there in Facebook land to realize. There we go. All right, there we go. Got the echo gone. So we'll just wait for everybody to realize that we're live and ask some questions, and we will go from there. Today, y'all, we're talking about Blue Ridge, Georgia.
Let's make that a point. It is Georgia.
Yes, Blue Ridge, Georgia, not the Blue Ridge, other side of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina. We are talking about Georgia, and we have two of our short-term shop rockstar agents in that market on the call to answer y'all's questions. We have Yak and Christine, and they're here to answer any Blue Ridge questions that anybody has.
Avery, would you mind? I've got a kind of a little mini tour that I do of the area to kind of get people started, and some screen shares that may probably answer some questions before they ever get asked.
Let's do it. That sounds great.
Perfect. Well, I'm not techno savvy, but I'm gonna try this. So, all right, y'all. Can you see my screen share? I'm on the short-term shop website. Okay, perfect. So everybody knows first things first. Little intro. If you need to see estimated returns, click here on this window, scroll down, Blue Ridge. There are kind of, scroll down here to the Blue Ridge. So first and foremost, everybody wants to know the numbers. I would say first things first, go there, check that out. Next thing I'd like to talk about is kind of the layout of the state of Georgia, Blue Ridge, and how things kind of work. So as you can see, Atlanta's here. Most people think Atlanta is probably where Macon is. They think it's in the middle of the state. They don't realize how northerly Atlanta is actually located in the state. And if you want to count Metro Atlanta, it really kind of goes up all the way to, we can argue, Canton right here. From Canton down around, I mean, it's huge. It's the biggest town in the Southeast, and it covers a lot of area. Where is Blue Ridge? Well, Blue Ridge is right up here in Fannin County. We have LJ right here, which I call it's kind of the sister town. But for the most part, we're going to focus on Blue Ridge today and some of the surrounding areas. So what are some of the surrounding areas? Well, first of all, again, I'm going to bring you back to Atlanta. From the airport in Atlanta to, let me try to zoom in here, to Blue Ridge, it's about an hour and 40-minute drive with, if you're lucky and catch no traffic. I would call it about 2 hours. So a lot of people want to know how close is it to the Atlanta airport? A little less than 2 hours, to be fair. Okay. Blue Ridge market. What do I consider to be the Blue Ridge market? What are the surrounding areas that are kind of part of that? Well, I consider anything that's kind of in the, let's start right here in Epworth. Anything that's between Epworth and Blue Ridge, I consider part of the Blue Ridge market. The south part of Mineral Bluff, and what I mean by the south part of Mineral Bluff, as a postage code, it runs all the way up to the North Carolina line. Up here can be a little too far. There are some real bougie subdivisions up here that have some amazing views. It's called Mountain High, but for the most part, I would prefer you to be on the southern part of Mineral Bluff, closer to Blue Ridge. Then you have Morganton, which goes all the way almost to Blairsville. Okay. But right in here where the Fannin County line is roughly, I would say anything along this is pretty good. And just north, just off the road here or off 76 will work because it's very accessible. I don't really, you get down here on 60, it's a little harder to navigate. It's a slower drive, not as many short-term rentals in this area. And quite frankly, it's kind of just a pain in the butt to get back to Blue Ridge from 60. Two more areas that I like people to focus on is this is where the pin is for ASCA, but this is called the ASCA Adventure Area, the ASCA Adventure Area. And if I zoom in, you will see this road here. Hopefully I'm not going too fast, but this highway here is actually ASCA Highway, okay? I recommend to people to not be this far south of Lake Blue Ridge. You can be. Cell phone reception gets a little dicey out here. Internet, really slow. But if you can be, if you're coming from town, from Blue Ridge, and you're going south, I tell people, try to be about 10, 15 minutes down here. If you get 20 minutes, your cell phone reception can be a little hit or miss. But all this is a great area for those kind of younger people or people that really want more of an adventure, people that want to, there's trails here that connect to the Appalachian Trail, a lot of hiking, a lot of canoeing, a lot of kayaking, fly fishing, etc. in this stretch here. Lastly, in the Blue Ridge market, we have Cherry Log. Cherry Log is very short-term rental friendly, tons of little rentals in here, tend to be a little older. You've got Cherry Lake on this side in here, and then over here you have Hidden Lake. Both of them have a ton of rentals, and it's just kind of, when a lot of locals think of short-term rentals, most of them think of Cherry Log, okay? Pretty affordable place to get into, quite frankly. And then we have Ellijay. Ellijay, I tell people, it costs, I don't know, 20% less. And it's probably, in my opinion, it makes about 20% less. And you're really not going to stay in the town of Ellijay. You're going to be if you can see right here, all these little roads, this is called the Coosawattee River Resort. Massive, massive subdivision, thousands of homes in here. If you want to be in Ellijay, I recommend to people to be in here. You can find some pretty good opportunities. So that's kind of the lay of the land of where I recommend. I usually tell people drop a pin in the middle of Blue Ridge. The McDonald's is a good place to do it just because it's geographically centered, and try to be within 15 minutes of that, 10 if you can, best case scenario, definitely less than 20. But there are some places that are 25 minutes away that are awesome. We just have to take those on a case-by-case basis. Again, I'm not going to beat you up. Here's a website I'd like everybody to go to. This is linked in my signature. This is from the Chamber of Commerce. Kind of gives everybody an idea of what Blue Ridge is, what we have to offer. BlueRidgeMountains.com. It's focused mostly on North Georgia and what there has to do in the town of Blue Ridge, but you can learn a lot from this website. Live music, we have a little bit of a hippie culture here, as do most of these, cabin towns in the Southeast. So, but great place to start if you want to know what there is to do and kind of a little, better lay of the land in terms of entertainment. Now, I do want to talk about Blue Ridge from the perspective of, a lot of people know about the Smokies, and how does it differ from the Smokies? What do you guys have? What do you guys not have? Well, we are, like I said earlier, we are a little more of a nature lover's play. Okay. We got world-class fly fishing. If you like hiking, canoeing, kayaking, rafting, floating, drinking beer on a raft, who doesn't like doing that? Those type things, you're going to love Blue Ridge. We have orchards. I think we have something like 17. Somebody even told me it's 21 vineyards within like 90 minutes of Blue Ridge. Are any of them like Sonoma or Napa Valley? No. Okay. Instead of a charcuterie board, you're going to get peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Okay. But hey, that's who we are. Okay. You can still have a great town. They're small, little quaint places to visit that people just fall in love with. It's a lot more personal here. And I tell people, look, if you want to ride roller coasters and go-karts and play putt-putt golf and then get stuck in 45 minutes of traffic to go back to your cabin that's 8 miles away, go to the Smoky Mountains. We don't have any of that. Okay. That is not what we are. We are for the people that want to live outside, stay outside. As you can see here, we got some of the stuff that's the orchardy, looking stuff there. So again, going kind of back to our orchards, I'll bring it back around to me for a second. I hope all that makes sense of what we are and what we are not. It is a little different play. We're not mega busy or anything like that. We do have a little different, I would say, what people want here and what works is also different than the Smoky Mountains. When people go to the Smokies, they're buying a ticket to Dollywood. They've got plans. They've got everything mapped out that they're going to do for the next 3 or 4 days or 5 days or 7 days a week, whatever it is. When people come here, they throw all that away. They're coming here to relax. They're coming here to go outside, get away, not do anything, probably lock themselves in their cabin for a lot of people. Okay. And so because of that, what people expect out of your cabin is a little bit different. Okay. It needs to be a little more inclusive. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's got to be cool. I tell people, there's the saying, you need to be able to keep up, keeping up with the Joneses. I think we're all familiar with that saying and what that means. And Luke and Avery, you can attest. I mean, it's critical that your stay, if it looks the same way it did 6 years ago, probably not as cool as it was. All right. You're going to kind of just knock yourself down the totem pole each passing month. So I tell people here, it's not about keeping up with the Joneses. It's one-upping the Joneses. Okay. It really is critical here that, hey, your neighbor just got an arcade put in. You better go buy a pinball machine and an arcade. Okay. Your neighbor just got a new, air hockey table. You better go install something else to overcome that. Okay. Because the vast majority of your clientele here are going to be young, affluent families from Metro Atlanta, and they are going to shop the hell out of the listings. They are very, very savvy people. Okay. They're much like Avery, much like Luke. They're not going to do anything without sitting in front of the computer and analyzing everything and being very deliberate. And if you're priced in line with somebody else and somebody else has way more than you, you may not get the returns you're looking for. So we are very, very sensitive to amenities and aesthetics. Does that mean you have to buy $1 million cabin and put in a $30,000 game room? It does not. It absolutely does not. But it does mean being observant, being humble, and understanding what you're competing against and trying to one up it. Spend your money more wisely than the next person. I hope that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So I do want to bring up, if you don't mind, Avery, a couple of properties to kind of show the differences in what I say works here, and kind of talk about maybe why, and talk about why something wouldn't work, if that's all right.
Please do. I think everybody wants to see that.
Okay. So first one, if y'all can see it, Avery, just say, yes, I can see that cabin.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. I would call this cabin here, it's on Airbnb. I'd call this cabin from the outside the somewhat average cabin. 3-bedroom, I believe it's 3-bedroom, 3-bath. Now, what I will say is not average about this cabin is the view. Okay. So this cabin, it does have $1 million view. Okay. It does, but let's pretend it didn't. I want to talk about the actual cabin itself, not so much about the surrounding area. Okay. This cabin is kind of famous in Blue Ridge. It has its own little Instagram page, yada, yada, yada. And it plays very, very well. So if I can figure out how to move this menu, let me see. Here we go. I'll be able to scroll through some pictures. Okay. Now, why is this cabin so hot? Well, we're going to look around. First of all, they did a great job with the photography. Okay. Marketing here is everything. Again, we're very sensitive to that. Yes, it has a river view. It's awesome. I get it. Deck is okay. This picture, it's okay, but that looks cool. very average cabin. Everybody, if you want to know what an average cabin looks like in Blue Ridge, I'm going to say it's probably this one. Me, Christine, we've probably walked in something like this 100. I've walked into one of them 1,000 times. The view, though, okay, that does make this one unique. But once you get on the inside, I want you to see what they've done. First of all, I'm going to tell you the owners of this house, I know them, and they're photographers. Okay. So they spent some time doing they put basically all the photos up there they uploaded from Instagram. But I want you to look on the inside of the house. It doesn't feel like you're walking into room 151A at the Luxor that looks like 151B at the Luxor. Okay. You can't, I mean, that's not what you can do here. That you can get away with that in the Smokies. And no offense, Avery, but you walk into the Smokies and about all of them look alike on the inside. Okay. The ones that don't, like a lot of them that you own, make all the money. Okay. Same
I have
principle
some
here.
that look like everything else.
But you get what I'm saying. So let's scroll through here, and they really do a cool vibe, and there's nothing in here. And Avery, stop me if you see anything furniture that may have came from Restoration Hardware. If you see any bed frames that cost $5,000, or if you see any Italian marble or anything like that, that would be difficult to accomplish. That's difficult to accomplish because the view is amazing. Okay, I said let's take away the view. Okay, this little cute sign. But again, I'm going to throw them through here. Cool little swing. I don't know where they got that. I guarantee it wasn't Restoration Hardware. We're not talking about, this isn't a place that spent, $50,000 on furnishings. You can look in it, and everything was probably picked up at the antique mall. Okay. But they spent a lot of time and effort to make this place feel and look like a cozy, relaxing cabin. I mean, nothing here is expensive. I want you to just absorb this photography. This is what plays here. Okay. I mean, what is this? $13.99 at Hobby Lobby. Okay. Again, I know I've seen this deer picture here, Avery. I've seen this 50 times in listing photography. So again, there's nothing here unique, but they spent the time and effort to do it. So again, I'll break away from this one, and look, it does, even to my point, it does have a drop ceiling in the basement. So it's not as beautiful down there, but this is a pretty cool place, and it absolutely murders it because of the time and effort people spent to kind of make this a cool hangout. Let's go to another cabin. All right. This one is what I call where we have gone to the future. Probably what you envision of cabins is what we just looked at. I'll let you know this is where Blue Ridge is heading, and this is what people love. So I call this the ski lodge. Okay. This is one of our quote unquote famous builders here, and they build little houses like this. They are tiny, but if you see the photography, you fall in love with them. By the way, this 3.3 made about $150,000. It is not for rent right now. They took it off the rental because it got too much traffic. But this little 3.3, it's about 1,700 square feet, made about $150,000 in last year. Okay. Give you an idea of where Blue Ridge is heading and how kind of chic we are. I tell people some of these cabins look like you would see something more on the West Coast, maybe even Idaho, something like that. Inside, awesome, great photography, super cool. All the custom windows, the bright lights. I can see everybody. I see Luke. When Luke's nodding his head, I know it's hitting all the marks. Okay. Again, it looks like Joanna Gaines walked in and threw up everywhere. Okay. It's as hot as it gets. Okay. These little cabins like this are murdering it. They are making piles and piles of money. Okay. It's even got a concrete wall on the inside. I mean, it's just the style.
Yeah, because this one's harder to find than the older one. Is this a new build?
This was done in 2019, but it recently resold. And this one, make no mistake, Luke, this was Smoky's prices. This one sold for just over $1 million
on a 3-bedroom.
3-bedroom, yeah. And it's just under 1,800 square feet. It's like 1,725, something like that. It does have great decks. It's all, I mean, it's custom throughout, but it's these sexy things right here are just killing it. With the windows, the way they are. Let me go through. Okay. And then here's the deck situation. Big party deck. Obviously right now it has a television up here, but this is a huge deck. And it's got the screened in deck below it. We call that a party deck, a game day deck here.
So we probably got another close to 1,000 square foot of outdoor space as well. Yeah.
Probably so, Luke. That's probably a fair assessment. And then the little roll up window here for your bar,
That's awesome.
kind of like a garage door. And they put in bunk beds down here in this little space. So, again, these houses are really, really hard to find. So I don't want to make it sound like, these are a dime a dozen, because they're simply not. I'm going to stop sharing because this button is hiding my menu, and I'm going to come right back with another property.
Hey, yeah.
Yes.
What about, that property is up there in Blue Ridge, but if people are interested in that look down there in Kusawati, they're building some of those same ones.
That's a great point. They are new constructions here. And just so you're aware, that build in the Kusawati, Christine, what would you say is probably, the 850s? Or are they doing them in the 6s?
6 to 8.
Okay. I would say 8. By the time you get it furnished and looking how you like that one, probably so. Probably looking at a 9 to 12 months build time for those who are interested. Most of the builders around here are going to want a construction to perm loan if it is pre-construction. Okay. So we do have resources for construction to perm if you guys need some help with that. Now let me pull up, since I'm now on another one. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep, got it.
Perfect. Okay. I call this one a little bit of the hybrid. It's kind of, and probably is what, a lot of the new constructions in the Smokies look like this. Pretty unassuming from the outside. This is a new build, 2020, 2019, but has a little more traditional style. It doesn't look, I call that other style kind of almost Scandinavian. It looks like an IKEA house. It's so kind of modern-y and edgy, but this one I call a little more classic, but way more modern. So let's take a tour of this one. You go in, and as soon as you walk in, it looks like, and Luke, I know you've seen these pictures before. It looks like a magazine shoot for Better Homes and Gardens. Okay. Now, do you have to have your home staged like this? You do not. But I want you to know there are people that will. And again, all this stuff is kind of Ashley furniture type stuff. It's Hobby Lobby. It far from good from far. Is what I call it. It's perfect for what we're trying to accomplish, and that is being a successful short-term rental. But again, chic, modern, cozy, comfortable. They've got the fire pit out there. You can imagine this would be a pretty cool hangout. They've got the lights up here, and again, the reason I show you guys this is, our clientele here is pretty demanding, probably more so than other places. A lot of times when people go to the beach, they need a place where they can wash their hair, make their sandwiches, have a comfortable bed, and then do it up all over again. The furnishings aren't that big of a deal to a lot of people. Here, our market is sensitive to that. Okay. And no, you don't have to have, like I said, you don't have to have $60,000 worth of furnishings. You can fake it. Luke knows how to do that. He is the master of that. He knows where to find all this cutesy, kitschy stuff that looks like it came from Restoration Hardware, and Luke paid 30 cents on the dollar, probably knowing Luke 15 cents on the dollar because he bought it gently used. So that is the key to being successful here. Last thing, kind of becoming hot now, are these things, and honestly, I'm being kind of silly here. I wanted Luke to see this. I thought this was cool. A lot of people are starting to do these little tree house houses. I don't know what you want to call them. It's not a tree house to me. That's a freaking house. But Luke, check out where they put the condenser unit.
That's the
for
first thing I
the-
saw. That's the
for
first
the
thing.
mini-
There's a
for
mini
the mini
split hanging
split.
under the deck.
Hang it under the deck. How great of an answer is that?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's really it. That's kind of my tour of Blue Ridge. I wanted to
Now
see.
hold on, you're
people-
going to get people excited about tree houses. Is this thing readily available? I mean, this isn't something you can just go out and find, right?
No, they're not ready for. They're not for sale. No,
Wow.
ready to rent. Absolutely.
Right.
And there's a major clamoring for these things. Build time on these, as you can imagine, long. We'll just leave it
Yeah.
at that.
Couple 3 years.
We're just like everywhere else where we have workforce shortages and everything else. I was told a few years ago, we probably would have, pre-COVID, somewhere around 60 build crews. Now we got about half of that building houses, and the demand is 10x. So you have, building here. Yeah, you're going to look at 12 months. I don't know, in the Smokies, that's probably what you guys are used to. Here, we're used to about 6 months or less. Now it's 9 to 12 months. And that's all I got, Avery, in terms of show and tell. If there are questions, I know just off the top of my head, a lot of people want to know, like, what are the HOAs like here? Is that something
Definitely.
worth covering?
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have that many neighborhoods that have any restrictions, to be honest with you. We've got a few. You want to stay outside of the city limits, okay, which is easy to do. And that's really it. As long as you're out in the county, you're clean. There's a couple of them on the golf course, Buckhorn Estates, a few of them. Yes, there's a couple of them that have some pricks that are HOA presidents. We will navigate you. We will navigate you around that and kind of help you guys avoid, being in a situation that would be unfavorable. But for the most part, it's kind of Wild West up here. Not a ton of zoning or any issues like that you have to work with. HOA fees are usually pretty favorable. You're talking between $250 and $500 a year. All right. Not a lot of money. And usually all that does cover is kind of helping with the community well and helping manage the shared road in the community. Okay. When it's time to repave, bring in the, when it's time to smooth out the gravel, need to be re-graveled, things like that. So really the HOAs are no more than, and lastly, it keeps somebody from painting their cabin purple. Okay. Everybody wants their little cabin community, their little cabin area to remain a cute cabin area. And, somebody doesn't bring in 8 double wides. And I talked about the community well, going back to utilities. 99.9% of what you're going to get here, it's going to be on septic and you're going to be on a well. There will be some stuff just north of town, north of Blue Ridge, going up toward McKaysville, that you may have the opportunity to get some community water. Now, if you're in Kusawati, if you're in the LJ area, you will have more community utilities.
And higher HOAs in Kusawati.
Yeah, HOAs was $750 a year.
$750 to $900, somewhere in that range.
$750 to $900. There is swim tennis in there, but they really, really limit it to owner occupants. You will get a very, very limited number of guest passes. This is the Kusawati River Resort in LJ. But outside that, I tell people, and Avery, you may say the same thing, having your clients going to community greens, not necessarily green spaces, but to swim tennis stuff, opens you up to a potential problem. Let me try to spell Kusawati.
COOSA.
It's COOSAWATTEE. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Is my ancient Indian up to par? So hopefully that helps. But again, the utility thing is, you're going to be on septic, you're going to be on well, chances are, if you're doing Blue Ridge. And that's really it. I tell everybody, like with anything else, I know Luke and Avery have said this to you guys a million times, uniqueness, look for something different. If you buy what I call the brown cabin, Okay. We've got 1 million of what I call brown cabins. It's a 3-3 that's brown on the outside. It's butterscotch on the inside. It's got a brown couch. It's got rust colored decor. They got a brown pool table. They got a brown rug. They got tan granite and beige
Hey, and
window
don't forget
coverings.
the brown bear on the front porch.
Yeah, the brown bear on the front porch. Forgot about that. If
And-
you
and
buy
I-
the brown bear, if you buy the brown cabin, you're going to be one of 500 brown cabins. It's time to
Yeah,
put some pops of color in there.
I agree. I actually sent some rugs recently to one of my cabins, and the housekeeper mad at me that they were like kind of this like cool green, like hip green color, almost like on Avery's screen there. And she was like, "What is this? These rugs aren't going to match anything. They need to be brown." And I was like, "Oh no, we're done with that brown. You put some. We're going to do some greens and blues and grays."
She may
Amen, brother.
have a point, because I do hate it when you pick out decor
Well, yeah,
items without.
yeah,
You remember
colors are
the
not something
upstairs
that-
here, those comforters you picked out, those
All
are
right,
horrible,
let's
and they were
not-
on
okay.
our pictures.
Oh, you're at one of our units right now. Yep.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So, and just to give you guys a little bit of backup, before I did real estate, I was a preferred marketing developer for Facebook. So when it comes to kind of creating a digital footprint of something you're trying to sell, I don't care whether it's a $1 million property or a 10-cent keychain, you have to find a hook. Okay. A great song has a hook. Your cabin, you got to treat it like a song, man. You got to have a hook. You got to have a reason for people to remember your property. I jokingly tell, and I say this only sort of jokingly, but I tell people, look, man, I don't give a shit. Put pink flamingos in your backyard. Don't put it out of sight where the HOA people can't breathe down breathe down your neck about it. But, if you put pink flamingos in your backyard, and it looks like something cousin Eddie designed, people are going to remember you. Okay. Be bold, be unique, find a property. If it's not unique, have the vision to make it unique. Does that mean spend $30,000 on renovations? No. Does it mean spend $1,500 at Hobby Lobby? Yes. Do something crazy. Don't be the brown cabin. I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, totally. And y'all, I don't know if you could tell by his accent, but Yak is Italian. And
Yeah.
he's also
But
grew up
yeah,
in Mississippi, which is
you know him since
how
you're a
we met.
kid.
Yeah. He's actually friends with my dad.
Yeah.
And my brother.
The Mississippi connection runs deep.
That's
Yes,
it.
it
Here
does.
at the shop.
Italian from Mississippi, huh?
Yeah, long story. So, how can, I guess, Avery, I've done a lot of talking. I'd like to hear maybe if there's some direct questions that we can help some people with.
Yeah, or if Christine has anything for us, is there anything that
Yeah.
we didn't cover that?
I just think that, I think what Yak's saying is right. I mean, he's right on. Blue Ridge is not, it's not the Smokies. And when people realize it's not the Smokies, it's definitely an upscale, more aspiring kind of community that people are going up there for different reasons. I tell a lot of my clients to put in, that there's a little workspace. We have a lot of people that go up there and from Atlanta, they drive up and spend the week up there with their families and they do work while they're up there. Not a lot, but they do. And that's a big thing for a lot of people that go to Blue Ridge. But it's more of a relaxation, get away from the Atlanta hustle and bustle.
And now, hey, the Smokies, you are specifically referring to like Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. Are you finding that area quite a bit? Because it's really not that far, right? Is it? It just seems like it's coming up often. You guys get compared a lot.
Well, I'll chime in there really quick because I see it from a higher level. So a lot of times, or especially last year when everything in the Smokies was getting 1,000 offers, I think a lot of people would come to me and they'd say, hey, I've been trying to buy in the Smokies, but I'm having a hard time. So they kind of look at it as like dropping down to Blue Ridge. They would get their nose bloodied in the Smokies and then say, oh, well, I'll go try Blue Ridge. So I think that they do get a lot of bleed over Smokies buyers because they assume that it's going to be easier to win a deal there. And that wasn't necessarily true last year. It's a completely different market though now, at least we're seeing we had one agent, and not to set an unrealistic expectation, but we did have one agent get a property for a client yesterday or day before for 100,000 under asking. So it's definitely becoming much more of a buyer's market. But I think that you guys do get compared because a lot of people will say, oh, let me try this, the flagship mountain market. And then, okay, well, that didn't work. Let me try something else.
Yeah. And the one thing that I found cool is Avery, with the amount of clients that come in and, they're from all different walks of life. And I learn something every day from the people we work with and work with so many cool people. And the one thing that I've picked up on, and I've got a lot of clients from the West Coast, they get more attracted to Blue Ridge. And I'm like, because last year when it was mega hot, I was like, why are you guys, what attracted you to Blue Ridge? And they're like, we own cabins in Big Bear, and the cabins in Blue Ridge, and the way they're staged and set up remind me of Big Bear. And so that I have found from an aesthetics standpoint is our biggest comp. It may not be, I'm sure maybe there's something in North Carolina that's closer. I don't know, but I get that a lot of the West Coast clients love Blue Ridge because of our kind of, a little more modern-y flair. What works tends to be a little more modern-y. And Big Bear, California is what I've heard is the biggest comp. And I just thought that was pretty cool.
So is it safe to say that if I'm going to buy in Blue Ridge, it's a little bit more, I have a bit more of a relationship with this market than if I'm just a random person trying to buy an investment property that's never been to the area? Seems like Blue Ridge is definitely, in general, I'd probably have a little bit or want to have a little bit of a connection there and actually spend time there. And you're making me fall in love with it is my point here. It seems like it may be okay to go ahead and have a little bit of an emotional attachment to a property in this area and take our family there and our kids and things.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point because it's an easy place. Look, Pigeon Forge, Disney, you name it. Those are the vacations where when you get back, you need another vacation from. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like yes. you've got a detox, once you get back from those places. And you need, those are the places where you're flying back on Friday because you need Saturday and Sunday to yourself to get your mind right.
Blue Ridge is more friendly. I don't know if friendly is the right word, but when you go into a shop in Blue Ridge, they're going to take the time to chat with you. You're going to have a conversation. It's going to be leisurely. Right. It's not about the just quit, get through. Let's go pay for your items, move on. It's having a conversation with them.
Luke, let me tell you, this will probably answer your question about it's very hometowny. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to prove it to you. How many people do you think live inside the city limits of Blue Ridge?
Oh, I can't imagine it's too many, but hit me with the number.
1,400.
1,400, yeah.
Okay. Now, if that doesn't tell you, the size and scope of Blue Ridge, I mean, that's it. I mean, most of the things you're going to be doing are going to be out in the county. And the one thing that works here, like I showed you guys, are something with a little bit of uniqueness. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but you got to be willing. I tell people the clients here that are willing to spend that extra 2% on the inside of their cabin that everybody around them won't spend is probably going to make them an extra 10 to 20% in revenue. And it's all
pretty
about
easy to be an outlier. It seems like it's pretty easy to, if you just step up make sure your house doesn't look like the day that you bought it, get in there and do some elbow work, get your hands dirty and stand out from the crowd. I mean, that's something that everybody should do in this business, really. But you're right. It seems that people maybe have gotten a little complacent on that in recent past. I think it's a good note to keep in mind in any market, really.
Absolutely. And even if you bought your cabin last year, and Luke, I have people, come to me all the time and say, hey, Yock, what can we do? What can we do here? What can we do there? Bought my cabin last year. It was doing really, really well. And I don't feel like we're doing as well this year as last year. And I was like, okay, guys, fair question. Let's take a look at the listing. What have we done? What have we done in 2022 to improve it? And crickets,
Yeah.
everybody,
Well, and to your point, there's always going to be changes, and you got to always, like last year we went through and updated every single bathroom we had, and every one of our short terms that didn't already have an updated bathroom and stuff like that. But in pricing too, pricing's a huge deal. And 2021 was a big, an outlier itself, and it was a weird thing. And folks that, to your point there, I was thinking if somebody came into this in 21 and thought that was normal, then I could see definitely why they would be struggling today. Not that there's a struggle today, but compared to if you just went live like June 21 and expected that to be normal, then, maybe you need to have a little bit of a reassessment.
absolutely. And it's just those little things like we talked about, okay, I had the game room, I had the pool table. Well, now my neighbor has a pool table and they got an arcade. Okay, crap. Now I gotta go get 2 arcades. You know what I mean? And the beauty is, look, you go to Costco, you go to Walmart, you go to Arcade One Up, you catch those things on, every 3-day weekend that, that there's a government holiday, there's a sale, and you can pick up a pair of those 4-player arcades for $650 each. I mean, that's going to pay for itself in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So, and then update your photography and go. But that's kind of the name of the game in Blue Ridge. And if you're the person that's, well, let me back this up. And man, I hope I say this right. I have found that some of my most successful clients are the ladies, and especially the ones that kind of live on Pinterest. They get it. They've got all these little cabins bookmarked or earmarked or pinned. I guess that's the term for Pinterest. They got them all pinned, yes. And they're just like, hey, I'm going to do that. I'm going to create these little Instagrammable nooks in my house where you can go and do your selfie. And we're talking about spending not much money to do it. But the ladies that have that vision, they kill it here. They absolutely kill it here. And the guy who's, the architect, I'm seriously not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, or the CPA, that's just like, hey, I'm going to get my cabin. I'm going to install my automation and I'm going to call it a day. Probably not going to be that successful here.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because there's worldwide 12% of real estate investors are female, and actually they have the majority here at the shop. We have 52% female clients at the short-term shop, which I would like to think that that's because of the lady in this call that is in charge. But you're right, there is an attention to detail thing there. Let me ask you briefly. We did touch on this, and I'm pretty sure we already know the answer, but I wanted to clarify, just get it out there as far as. We touched on HOAs, but what about regulation? The local areas here do want us to be there and renting and paying our taxes. Are there any areas that they do not short-term rental or anything that we need to be concerned with as far as being removed at some point from the government not liking us doing this?
Right now, as long as you're outside of the city, you're in your zone, you're in the county. There are no regulations until, maybe that community has its own layer of restrictions. But from a, what do you want to call it? It's not federal, from a state, from a county level, there are no restrictions when you're out in the county, unless your particular community has them. And there's very few that do.
Just a
so
handful.
Basically we just, get a business license, Christine, and we're good to go. No weird red tape in most of these areas as long as we're outside of the city limits.
As long as you're outside the city limits, Blue Ridge. Same in LJ. LJ's the same way.
It was.
And do we want to be in the city limits of what happens in the city limit? Are there no rentals there? That's not what we want to do.
No short-term rentals.
There are some that got grandfathered in. And just so you know, our board of commissioners or every board that meets in the courthouse, 3 out of 5 of them are real estate agents. Okay.
But
So
yeah,
that helps.
if they resell in the city of Blue Ridge, that grandfather clause goes away, doesn't it? After
That is correct. So
Okay.
people tell me, oh, I see short-term rentals in town all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but it's been a short-term rental for 10 years and it belongs literally to the mayor's son. Okay. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
But it's a $250 in Fannin County. It's a $250 license. In 2020, it was, or early 2021, it was a $25 license. So they got hip to it pretty quickly. But yeah, $250 a year. That's really all it takes. Yes, you have to snail mail a paper check to the courthouse. There is no pay over the phone or anything like that. I think if you even ask them that, they'll hang up on you.
Yep, we're very familiar with that, and most of our markets, and that's why we're in those markets. That's why we are the short-term shop, because they are short-term. Well, or vacation is another classier way to put that. Vacation rental markets. But just a couple more things, and then we'll wrap it. What can we expect on maybe? And again, don't give us real numbers, but just a very, like we had this is July 2022, by the way. We had the All-Star game last night. Give me a huge ballpark on numbers. You mentioned a 3 or maybe a 4-bedroom. What's my occupancy look like if I'm really crushing it? And what's my maybe my gross income? Just, again, big broad spectrum here.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to take it because I showed you guys a big swath of properties, and I tell everybody this. We've got 3 bedrooms that cost $500,000. We've got 3 bedrooms that cost $1.1 million. One of them is going to make $150,000 a year. One of them is going to make $50,000 a year. Okay. And in between it, we have, you can imagine it's an infinite spectrum of earners and qualities of stays, the way the public would perceive it. So, the fair answer is we are not as cookie cutter as the Smokies, where you can just point to an area and say, hey, I know a 3-3 in there. I know what it makes all day, every day. Mm-hmm. Here, sometimes it's even hard for a appraiser to even find comps that are more than 6 miles away, that are less than 6 miles away. So Airbnb, I tell all of our clients, let's look at each property individually. Okay. And break it down for there. I don't want to give anybody, numbers to say, hey, here's what you're doing. But occupancy rates, I mean, some people Luke, the brown cabins, they're probably 30%. The unique cabins, they're at 80%. I mean, it's pretty simple. I see a few questions here. You can have to offer the best amenities or the most economical. That's a fair question. I tell everybody here, you either run retail, stack it high, sell it cheap. Okay. From the economical standpoint, or you're going to have to be pretty unique. Do you have to have the best amenities? It's hard for me to call what's best. Okay. I don't want to say best. Are you going to have some unique amenities? Yeah, you do. And again, it's not about spending tens of thousands of dollars on furniture. It's not where I'm going.
If we're enemy methoding in this market, our rules are not going to be the same as they are in most markets, where you really kind of want your enemy to be within like a mile or maybe 2. It sounds like we're going to need to shout our area to find a qualified enemy.
It's a great point, because we are so kind of spread out. When I showed the map, if you've got something in Aska Adventure area versus something, let's just say in going toward Epworth, okay, that could be a 40-minute drive. Okay, so we're just not as dense as the Smokies. So the enemy method, I tell people to use your enemy method, which is awesome. It works for seeing what other people are offering, right? What does the quality of stay look like at that price point around Blue Ridge? But as a way to really kind of pinpoint how much you're going to earn, it becomes a little more difficult to use that in terms of, trying to judge revenue.
And you're not going to be able to do it against your next door neighbor is what you're getting. And if anybody here is not, or if anybody watching this in the future is not familiar with that, of course, go to enemymethod.com to watch Avery's video on how to analyze, making money and stalking your competition on a short term. Avery, anything else?
Hey, I've got just a little comments. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the fact that they're saying, well, what is the occupancy right? If I buy one, am I going to be able to get it rented out? And, again, it's per cabin that you're seeing it. And I'm seeing a lot of these rentals that I'm going to show that are for sale. I'm having to wait to go show them because there's people in them. They're renting them. So I'm seeing them being rented and I'm having to wait because they're for sale and they're still booked. So we are getting bookings.
Now, it's a good point there that where are we at with property management versus self-management? Are you primarily, like every other market, mostly property management at this point? Or are you seeing some places that were, doing the Verbo thing?
Back when Blue Ridge started, it was all property management. Almost, I'd say probably 75 to 80% property management. I would say it's a lot less now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot more kind of those hybrid Vacasa style, I don't know what you want to call that, but they charge it because here they charge an arm and a leg. Property management places up here. By the time it's all said and done, you could be looking at between 35 and 40% of what they're going to take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here you can really, really do well managing it yourself, kind of doing the steps that, you and Avery and the rest of the team have kind of, laid forth is really here where you're going to do really well.
Of course. Yeah. If you buy a house with a shop or one of these lovely agents, we will teach you how to put it on the internet and manage that bad boy from anywhere in the world. That's why we're here at the Short-Term Shop.
I got one client that does it from Dubai.
Hey, I've always wanted to go there. Avery, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. I've always wanted to go there too. I just don't want to lug the kids. It sounds like a nightmare
flight.
on that long of a flight.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. If you want to buy with us in Blue Ridge with Yak or Christine, or we have several other really great agents there, email us at agents@theshorttermshop.com and we will get you all hooked up. And thanks a lot for coming, everybody. Thanks, Yak and Christine, for the education, and we'll catch y'all later.
Thanks.